sanctions war to ESCO. Opposition party lists ex-Katsina governor for others as peace moves begin. Party reverses autumn's summons to face disciplinary panel. 6 members unity. And some more stories right here. Says Sanwo-Olu, Mahide, others get certificates of return, pledge good governance. And Ondo chapter tackles Adibanjo over Afeniferi's chieftains. To the red corner, Whitney, Lagos arraigns Christian principal, others for manslaughter. And finally, Muslim couples can get intimate after breaking fast, clerics.
All right, now to the cable NG. Davido drops 17-track album, Timeless. And we have Ikpeazu, I'm relieved leaving office. I'm not owing salaries of core civil servants. Fire got another auto parts market in Lagos. And this says sources how you'll died while playing football. PDP reverses suspension of Shema Fayose Ayim. And Labour Party, we are of insurrection plans. We are ready to follow democratic process. Money laundering, CCB invites Keyamo over petition against Achiko. DMO, Nigeria's public debt hits 46 trillion naira in Q4 2022, up by 6 trillion naira from 2021. And more of the stories here on the cable MG says, ABGA chair to members, put differences aside, let's rebuild our party. National Assembly approves Buhari's request to designate 10 forest reserves as national parks. Reserve 35% appointment for women in your cabinet, CSO styles Tinubu. Timi Frank to DSS, name those planning to install interim government. And we'll take one last one here from Cable NG. APC campaign petitions NBC over that is no president-elect to remark.
All right, moving to the Premium Times newspaper, Akwa Ibom Yobe rank top state in Transparency and Accountability Index report. Some more stories. PDP reverses suspension of Ayim Fayose Shema, stops Autumn from facing disciplinary committee. Nigeria's public debt rose to 46.25 trillion naira in Q4 2022 DMO. Student debt, Lagos government arraigns 4 Christian school officials. Afenifere crisis reopens as Fasoranti disagrees with Adebanjo on Tinubu election. Analysis why NNPP won Kano but made little impact in other northern Nigerian states. Nigerian government approves 24.2 billion naira for free internet facilities in airports, markets. And I think we'll just take some more right here. Governor Ikpeazu sacks several aides. Jigawa governor receives 60 Chinese trained medical doctors. Code of Conduct Bureau invites Keyamo over petition against Atiku. APC crisis while we're yet to take over Secretariat. Despite Supreme Court verdict, Njoku. Supreme Court dismisses ex-Buhari's minister Nwajuba's suit against Tinubu, Atiku. And finally, Peace Corps Bill, reps adopt Conference Committee report.
Now over to the Daily Trust newspaper front page. This says police grill National Assembly officials over 500 million naira misappropriation. And it says operatives of the Force Criminal Investigation Department, FCID, have quizzed top officials of the National Assembly branch of the Parliamentary Staff Association of Nigeria. And more headlines here on the Daily Trust says Labour cautions federal government on petrol subsidy remover. And this also says how I lost over 100 million in Kano post-election violence. Baban Chinedu is coming up with that. And of course, more of the story says Nigeria, all right, we have that Ramadan. Daily Trust Foundation donates to orphanages in Kaduna. All right, how Bala Mohammed defeated Bauchi Gladiators to clinch second term. And of course, let's see if we have another story. Machawale, how soldiers worked against my re-election. PDP reserves suspension of Ayim Fayose Shema after Ayu's exit. Nigeria's debt rose to 46.25 trillion naira in 2022. That's according to the DMO office. All right, let's see if we could take just one more before leaving the Daily Trust this morning. All right, photo Shatima visits IBB Abdusalami in Mina.
All right, moving to the Daily Post newspaper, why interim government will not happen under Buhari Lalong. Iprazo sacks all special advisors, senior special assistants, technical officers. Stop MC Oluomo from starting Yoruba Igbo war. Ohanaeze begs Gani Adams. Benue PDP suspends Igroyov Ward ESCO over IU suspension. Supreme Court kicks APC out of Gombe South senatorial election. Appoint Igbo Affairs aides. Uzodinma appointee. Adamu tells northern governors. Whitney Adenike, Lagos arraigns 4 Christian employees over alleged manslaughter of 12-year-old student. Fire guts Olowo spare parts market in Lagos. 2023 elections, families of 39 slain Nigerians, victims seek justice. And some more portable, one hit many controversies. That one is, of course, an article or something. Interim government plot to truncate Tinubu's victory. Dangerous. Islamic cleric. And finally, on the Daily Post, Buhari approves appointment of 6 new permanent secretaries.
All right, quickly to Vanguard newspaper this morning, right on the front page, Kwankwaso to Buhari, you didn't do enough to ensure credible elections. IU's ex-suspension, PDP suspends Igorov at Ward ESCO with immediate effect. Obidati, Tinubu petitions NBC wants Channels TV sanctioned. All right, latest news, all the latest news on the Vanguard this morning says, Bayelsa Guba, consider consensus candidate rights group tax APC. Misrepresentation of judgment, ABGA to charge Edoze Njoko for that. And of course, let's take 2 more before going on this commercial. Vice Admiral Gamble to speak at International Symposium in South Africa. And it says INEC issues certificates of return to Zulum, 28 assembly members.
All right, the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, this one says APC decries anti-Tinubu protest at White House. Federal government assures of improved employees' productivity, job satisfaction. Federal government, away from that one, this one also says, still on the Nigerian Tribune, interim government, LP breaks silence, says we are ready to follow democratic rules. Shetima visits Babangida Abdusalam in Mina. Whitney's death, court grants 30 million naira bail to Christian principal. Others, Nigeria's total public debt stock hits 46.25 trillion naira DMO. And this one also says OAU gets new bursar, registrar, librarian. Federal government assures of improved employees' productivity. And some more stories before we go on that commercial break. Court grants journalist Agba Jalingo 500,000 naira bail. We go on that break now. When we return, we'll have Professor Oluwajedokum jump in on the analysis. Stay with us.
You're listening to 32 FM 94.9.
Beyond banking. Say you need something. Where they beyond banking. Make I give you the update. We not they frustrate. Open at the package. Relax your mind. You know go for your hand. Auntie brother open na the way. Anything we go save money. Super fast transactions do. Networking not they sleep. Run and one time is done. Open beyond banking. Open beyond banking.
OPay beyond banking.
Màámi, ṣé gbogbo ife Bonvita ilẹ̀ fẹ́ pín?
Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni, ó ṣàmọ̀ pé àkókò yìí ní ṣe pẹ̀lú nǹkan pínpín.
Torí ẹ̀ ní Bonvita ṣe ń pín 50 gíráàmù lórí ìdí alátùrọ̀ onígíráàmù 104 kọ̀ọ̀kan. Àwọn ife wọ̀nyí á jẹ́ ti bọ̀dá Musa, alábàágbé wa, ìyàwó wọn, Uncle K.
Lákòókò yìí, ẹ jẹ́ gbádùn àfikún 50 gíráàmù lórí ìdí Bonvita alátùrọ̀ 104 gíráàmù tẹ́ bá rà. Ìyẹn túmọ̀ sí àfikún ìṣaralóore dídára ti Bonvita.
Bonvita, ó kún fún èròǹgbà rere.
Babe, how we wan take pay for baking course? With small money wey person dey make.
Course? No be to sabi bake like pro. No worry, I get plan.
You get plan.
I
I get super binge plan.
For whatever you want to learn on YouTube, you need a plan like the INT'L Super Binge Plan. Simply dial *141*514# now to enjoy 2 GB of data and 1 hour worth of free YouTube data every day for just 500 naira.
INT'L, the smartphone network.
You did dull yourself this afternoon. You did dull yourself this afternoon. You did dull yourself this afternoon. No allow any dulling for your life, oh. Enjoy that your break moment with 5 Alive Pulpy. Now correct enjoyment will go cool your body, come ginger and join. Make you use the enjoyment where they inside 5 Alive Pulpy take hold your side. They available for different delicious flavors. 5 Alive Pulpy, filled with life.
Guy, if I tell you all this plenty airtime and data, where they take flex? Now dash glow dash me, you go believe.
Dash get for this kind of economy. I beg you.
Dey now, as I buy my glow sim like this, spirit, I first collect 1,000 naira welcome bonus, Sarah. As I come recharge, bam, glow knock me 10 times airtime bonus. I also enjoy double data. Join.
Wait, oh, you mean 1,000 naira welcome bonus?
Yes.
Plus 10 times airtime bonus?
Yes.
Plus double data again?
Yes.
Papa, where's universe now?
The glow break the universe now. You want try?
Oh, more. No wonder boys they flex anyhow on top phone 247 non-stop. Hey, I talk am.
My people, not let grass grow under your Lego. Go get your glow sim today. Dial *777# to buy and enjoy 10 times airtime bonus plus up to double data. Offer day for both new and existing subscribers there. Glow Unlimited.
Beyond banking. Say you need something. Where they beyond banking. Make I give you the update. We not they frustrate. Open at the package. Relax your mind. You know go for your hand. Auntie brother open na the way. Anything we go save money. Super fast transactions do. Networking not they sleep. Run and one time is done. Open beyond banking. Open beyond banking.
OPay beyond banking.
32 FM 94.9.
All right, you're welcome back. It's on to the Papers Review and break it down here on 32 FM 94.9. And of course, we're going into analysis proper. We have Professor Olu Ojedokun with us in the studios already. Good morning, Prof.
Yes, top of the day to you, and it's a pleasure to be here.
All right, let's start off with this DMO. And of course, the Debt Management Office is coming up with this debt profile of 46 trillion naira in Q4 of 2022. Now, it appears that no one plans to fail. But in Nigeria's context, we begin to wonder, do we have a system that plans to fail? Because instances where you borrow a lot of money in order to execute projects and you're not thinking of how to finance some of these deficits, then even if you look at our budgetary year, it's always more than what we have as revenue. Now, what do you think is going on in the minds of our political leadership in the country when they have to have this kind of huge debt?
Well, let's be very clear that in terms of dollars, it's about $105 billion. That's what it is. But let's also be very clear that we've never had debts this high before, never. But also you have to take into account inflation. You have to remember that in 2007, when Obasanjo was leaving, he left us with hardly any debt. He cleared it, through negotiations with the Paris Club. But also another factor we have to take into account is that a lot of this debt is actually on recurrent expenditure. If it's on capital
payment of salaries,
yeah, payment of salaries, emoluments, all these allowances you get, and all these extra codes and so on. If it was on capital projects, then at least you can factor in the fact that capital projects, will bring back money in at some point. But if it's salaries, consumption, which is where a lot of it goes on, then we have a problem. And the reality of it is that if we continue on this trajectory, we'll get to a situation where we're just borrowing, constantly just to pay the interest, not to pay the debt at all. And of course, we're already getting rejections. Exim Bank rejected our loan request of, I think, $21 billion or something, or not up to that, but $21 million, sorry. So it's really a problem. And so what do we do to address it? Because it's not all right just to lament. We have to look at recurrent expenditure. How do we cut it? But that it won't even shift the needle. One of the things that is getting us into more and more trouble is the subsidy. The budget, the first quarter, is 3 trillion. So all that has been taking a lot of money away. Then we have to look at the fact: do we really need 10 or 9 or whatever the number is of presidential jets? Those are the things that go up money. ESTA codes, travel. We can't retrench all the civil servants because of the social dislocation it will cause. But we certainly have to look at the cost of governance and many of it. Then, constitutionally, should we be having a bicameral legislature when we can't even afford, to pay salaries without borrowing? So there are many, many instances, and it's going to take some time and reorientation. Is it going to be addressed in 4 years? I doubt it. Can we change the trajectory in 4 years? We can. But it's going to take a while before we resolve it. And that's a challenge for the president-elect.
If we look inward, how do we stop in the entirety borrowing? How do we stop? What do we do differently in terms of how this borrowing thing, how do we stop it? Because it seems like, should the country stop borrowing us? What do we do?
Yeah, you mean that should those countries stop, lending us money?
Lending us, of course.
Yes. First and foremost, the fact remains is that we are living beyond our means, and the cost of governance, the presidential system of governance, the structure causes us to spend the money. So I think we need to look at the structure. That's number one. I think number two, we need to look at ways to bring in more money, more foreign direct investment. Money needs to come in. We make money solely from oil, from petroleum, and we only make so much, and that means we have to diversify the economy. We can go into other things. There are other things we can do. Gas. The people in Europe, they're desperate for gas, and we flare gas here. And so the pipeline that we're trying to construct to Morocco or wherever, if we can do that, if you can get that sorted, then more revenue will come in. Then there's the cocoa, there's the cash crops, all those sort of things that Nigeria used to be the main exporter. Those things are no more there. The granite pyramids, you may have seen them in history books, no longer there. So it's a lot of things, and of course, those that jackpot to ensure that they continue to repatriate money. Because even though they've jackpot, the money that they send down here also makes a difference in terms of the Nigerian economy. So can we stop borrowing completely? At this stage, if we stop borrowing completely, the entire economy will collapse. We won't be able to pay salaries to workers.
So our entire economy is built on borrowing or lending.
That's the model. No, the objective policy of the finance minister, the fiscal policy has been based around borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. That's what it's been based on. There's no way out under this present Minister of Finance.
I think we wouldn't mind the borrowing and borrowing if at least some things were working. For instance, if we had constant power, if the roads were good, if the healthcare system was better, I think we would not mind. But with all this borrowing, what has it achieved? I haven't seen anything. Have you seen anything?
Yes, I think to be fair on the government, they borrowed for the trains. And the trains have been making money to pay back the loans. So that's an example of the kind of borrowing we want. So if you're going to borrow, then it should pay itself. It should be able to pay itself. But by and large, you are correct to say that most of the borrowing hasn't really delivered. Our problem again is that when we borrow exorbitantly for a project that is overpriced. So even though, of course, we are paying back, because it's overpriced, it takes longer, of course, for us to, be able to square it from that point of view. Well, there are a number of things that need really to happen, from that point of view. And I hope that the new National Assembly and the new president, whoever he may be, you understand, will ensure that we get on top of our debt and that we have a productive economy that works for all and not just works for a few.
All right, let's look at the petrol price now. There are projections that once the subsidy has been removed by Pengasan, the petrol will sell as much as 400 naira to 300 naira per litre. And now this appears to be the scenario over time when we begin to look at a new regime. Then we begin to look at differences in the policies of the petroleum, the downstream sector here. And obviously, this is what is also taking place. Now, how does Pengasan regulate the petrol markets? Because obviously, people are, in a way, trying as much as possible to eke out what appears to be a smart kind of living when it comes to products like petroleum. Now, how can Pengasan assure Nigerians that every of this product to be sold at this price?
Well, I don't think they can give us any assurance. The free market is the free market. There are a number of things that will determine availability, whether they're able to refine enough, whether there's demand, and really location. So, for instance, you don't expect a petrol station in far-flung parts of Borno to sell the same price as Lagos. That's the demand in Lagos will exceed the demand that they have there. So all those things are going to distort the price. You're not going to get the same price everywhere. You will get a range. I think Pegasus being the union, and that union, is really just responsible, for all those people, the trailers, the downstream people, and so on and so forth. So really, they're just saying what they would observe. The real people who may make a difference would have been the government, but we haven't got money to make the difference. That would have been build more refineries.
When we say government, it's quite very complex.
Yes,
Then we begin to look at the federal government. Now, are we talking about agencies like DPR or the PPPRA here to do the needful in terms of checking some of these excesses?
Oh, yes, we will look at them because they are the regulatory bodies, even though now they say they are a company. But the reality of it is that they are still part of the government, even though they are now a limited company. Of course, they will need to do their job in terms of regulating price. But once we deregulate it, then their job is limited. It becomes reduced because they are not going for price. Now they'll be going for quality. They'll be going for ensuring that there's access because price will not be subject to regulation again. It will be subject to the markets, and that's the issue that we will face. I think, at the end of the day, that the best that the government can do is to make as many refineries possible or invite investors to make as many refineries available so that at least the petrol flows. If it flows in abundance, and there's so much petrol out there, then its price will drop. But if there's reduced petrol, the price will go up. It's an economic principle.
All right, this one says, new Naira policy cost me re-election bid, Matawale. The governor of Zamfara State, Bello Matawale, on Thursday in Zamfara said his opposition to the central bank's new Naira policy cost him his re-election bid at the March 18 governorship election. Some have argued that if he indeed have served the people well, he would have been re-elected. And is he trying to play the Messiah side now, or Messiah context, where he's saying it was because he opposed the new Naira policy and that's why he wasn't elected?
Well, some would say sour grapes. You have to understand that Metawale wasn't part of the APC before. It was part of the PDP. In fact, Metawale became the governor as a result of a Supreme Court decision. In other words, there was an election, there was a court case where they discovered that the APC, all their officers were not duly elected. And so all their officers in that election, the elections were nullified. And of course, PDP came in. Then when it gets into office, what does it do? It gets there and it switches parties. It goes back to APC. And so some would say it's poetic justice that PDP really is the popular party there. And there's a lot of local politics going on in Zamfara, that may have implicated him. So I think it's local politics. I don't think it has anything to do with the federal government. Matawale is just crying. It's just crying wolf. You understand? It's just lamenting because it's lost. He's not the only governor that opposed, you understand, the Naira policy of the government. And some of them won. I mean, you may argue that there's some other reasons why they won, but they won. And he's saying that there was many, up to 300 military vehicles and so on and so forth. Well, Zamfara has been a hotbed of insurgency. But his own argument is that in all those times there's been insurgency, there's not been so much military presence. And so how come they doubled the military presence? Of course they would double it because people are going around to vote and they want people to be able to exercise their votes freely. So, Matawale, as far as I'm concerned, I don't agree with this proposition or with this suggestion.
It seems like PDP has allowed things to calm down and maybe allowed peace to reign because, according to report, they have reversed IM Fayose and some other people's suspension. What do you make of this story?
Well, I think that the PDP is confused. There's a lot of politics going on, of course. IM, of course, wanted them gone, and IM is now out of the picture, so they've returned them. So there's splits within the PDP. They are not harmonized yet. They're not united yet. And I think they need to get their house in order. If they're going to be a viable opposition, should they not succeed in their petition, then they really have to become a viable opposition and get their act together. As it is now, they're going back and they're coming forward, back and forward, back and forward. And you have people like Fayose, you understand, has to decide. Is he within the PDP or is he without? It also applies to all the candidates that were suspended. The reasons they were suspended haven't gone away. That's anti-party activities. We cannot choose a presidential candidate. And for whatever reasons you have, you work against that candidate. That's a principle, political party principle. But there's party loyalty. And so the fact that they've been returned doesn't mean they're out of the woods, at least morally, even if they're out politically.
Is it possible that they're trying to make the party even more popular with all of these stories and news flying around?
Well, a very curious way to make it very popular. But I think what they're trying to do is douse controversy, remove suspensions, and work towards a reconciliation. I suggested it somewhere, I'm not sure whether it's here, that there needs to be some kind of reconciliation process within that party to know the root causes of why they're where they are and to find ways to resolve it rather than suspensions here and there willy-nilly.
All right, let's quickly look at this controversy surrounding Syria's alleged resignation, talking about the Minister of State for Petroleum. Now, required by the APC constitution, he ought to have resigned for about 30 days before the elections itself. And now there are also opera within the political party that he's flouted some of these rules and he should be disqualified. Now, we begin to look at people who are serving in current government office, also trying as much as possible to pursue a political ambition. We saw that happen with Emefiele. At a point in time, he denied all of the processes. And now, Siva, it's not been officially confirmed, but these are controversies. Now, how do we handle officials who are taking charge of critical national offices in the country, interested in their own political gains?
I think it has to lie with the president or the commander-in-chief. He has to have a firm hand on the tiller. In other words, there's a law by the Electoral Act which has specified in a period of time by which you should leave office if you're interested in contesting. And of course, it has to be enforced. And if the president doesn't, then you're putting your party in danger because people will challenge it in the court. It's said that Timothy Silva has already resigned, but he did it quietly. That's what's been said. That's another matter entirely. But I think the enforcement has to come from the president. And it seems to me that sometimes the president is just too weak to enforce the laws of the federation from that point of view. But we wish Timothy Silva all the best. But you made another point. The point is that you cannot be in the office of a minister and have your attention divided. You have to make up your mind. And I have somebody in mind. As far as I'm concerned, as far as the whole world is concerned, Festus Keyamo is still the Minister of State in the Ministry of Labour. And yet he's moonlighting. He's moonlighting as the spokesman of the Asiwaju Tinubu political campaign. And people will be saying, okay, we are paying him for being a minister, and he's still doing some private job as a political operative. No, that shouldn't be right. It's not right at all. He should have made up his mind. He should have chosen either to be a Labour minister or to be a political operative.
Does it show seriousness in our political commitment in terms of actually addressing some of the stability questions we've been asking over time?
No, I don't think it does. I think it shows that people just think that governance is a part-time activity and it's something you can do at your leisure. Of course, it's not a part-time activity, particularly when the country is going through very difficult times. We need fine minds. We need people devoting their time, effort, you understand, to the jobs that has been assigned to them.
All right, we have commercial break coming up right now. When we come back, we open the phone lines. Stay with us.
FM 94.9.
Beyond banking. Say you need something. Where they beyond banking. Make a DVD update. We're not they frustrate. Open at the package. Relax your mind. You know go for your hand. Auntie, brother, open at the way. Anything we go solve on it. Super fast transactions do. Networking, not the sleep. Run and one time is done. Open beyond banking. Open beyond banking.
OPay beyond banking.
Ìfẹ́ tí kò lábàwọ́n ni ìfẹ́ ìyá jẹ́. Bẹ́ẹ̀ kò sí ohun tó dùn tó bíi Indomie alájẹpọnu lákọlọ. Nítorí náà, fi ìfẹ́ hàn pẹ̀lú Indomie.
They say there is love in sharing, and we at INT'L believe there is also joy in sharing. So, as you go about your day in this holy month of Ramadan, from Sahur to Iftar, think about a friend, brother, sister, colleague, or even stranger. With the Happily Ever Iftar products that we have curated, you can now share the blessings of the season affordably. Visit www.altmall.ng for more information. Buy now, pay later.
INT'L. Shop more, pay easy.
Babe, how we want to pay for baking costs? With small money where person they make.
Costs? No be to sabi bake like pro. No worry, I get plan.
You get plan.
I get super binge plan.
For whatever you want to learn on YouTube, you need a plan like the INT'L Super Binge Plan. Simply dial *141*514# now to enjoy 2 GB of data and 1 hour worth of free YouTube data every day for just 500 naira.
INT'L, the smartphone network.
Màámi, ṣé gbogbo ife Bonvita ilẹ̀ fẹ́ pín?
Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni, ó ṣàmọ̀ pé àkókò yìí ní ṣe pẹ̀lú nǹkan pínpín.
Torí ẹ̀ ní Bonvita ṣe ń pín 50 gíráàmù lórí ìdí alátùrọ̀ onígíráàmù 104 kọ̀ọ̀kan. Àwọn ife wọ̀nyí á jẹ́ ti bọ̀dá Musa, alábàágbé wa, ìyàwó wọn, Uncle K.
Lákòókò yìí, ẹ jẹ́ gbádùn àfikún 50 gíráàmù lórí ìdí Bonvita alátùrọ̀ 104 gíráàmù tẹ́ bá rà. Ìyẹn túmọ̀ sí àfikún ìṣaralóore jíjára ti Bonvita.
Bonvita, ó kún fún èròǹgbà rere.
32 FM 94.9.
All right, you're welcome back, and you're still on to the Breakdown Papers review here on 32 FM 94.9. And of course, we're going straight to take your reactions both on Facebook. We're live on Facebook and 32 FM Ibadan 949, 32949 Ibadan on Facebook, and of course also on YouTube. The numbers are 070 55000 949 or 080 97000 949.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning to everyone in the studio.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Please turn down the volume on your radio.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Is it clear like this?
Yes, it's better.
You see, to me, I don't see anything wrong in borrowing money from anywhere. All we are saying is, must they borrow money to pay salary workers? It shows that our workers does not be productive at all. What we are saying, let them borrow money and create an enabling environment that will help some of our youth to be well employed instead of borrow money to consume. That's what we are saying. It's a purely leadership failure. I don't see anything wrong with borrowing money. It's a global phenomenon. That is the truth of the matter. But what we are saying is to borrow money to use it wisely, not for consumption. Create an enabling environment that will provide enough jobs for our youth. That's what we are saying. Honestly, this is a pure leadership failure. Thank you. Have a nice day. I'm not sure who's signing.
All right, thank you very much. You can still call us in the studio and as well as drop your reactions on our Facebook pages 32FM 949 Ibadan 0705 500 0949. That is the number, and 0809 700 0949. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Sulaiman Shelf from good morning to Prof. See, there is no crime in borrow money. But the better thing is that if you borrow money, we need to use it in a productive way, just to produce and able to pay it back, not in a consumption. Because the major problem you have, those in the corridor of power, they don't manage the resources, they mismanage it. But don't forget that our Mr. President, he don't know anything about the economy. But I pray, may the new president-elect, may God give him the bad wisdom to fix our economy, because everything has been bastardized, our economy. May God heal our land. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sulaiman Cherry, for that one. All right, some comments on Facebook here. Says Miriam yesterday says, will Nigeria ever be great again? Because report has it that our national debt now hits 46 trillion naira when we still have outrageous unpaid domestic debt. How are we going to get out of this debt when there is no standard infrastructural projects to pay back the debt? There is no crime in borrowing, but it would have been better if the money is being used judiciously. What a country.
We keep on saying there's no crime in borrowing.
Hello, good morning.
Prof, just hold that thought. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, this is Miriam. Yes, I'm calling from Adenike.
Please go on, Miriam. We can hear you.
Yeah, as regards the certificate of return, I will employ the elected government to perform even more than they have done in their first time, because so many people voted for continuity of good governance. And I pray the Lord will lead them right. And as regards the debt ratio, see, there is no big deal in borrowing. But is there any sustainable development that will pay back the debt? I think our leaders should even do more. We should stop borrowing for consumption. We need a development that will promote the nation. That's my take. Good morning.
All right, thank you very much. Prof, you wanted to say something?
No. People keep on saying there's no problem in borrowing. The problem is when you borrow and you can't pay back. When you borrow and there's no real trajectory on how you're going to fulfill your commitment. And when you borrow for consumption, you borrow for projects, you borrow for things that are going to get you money. And a lot of things we borrow for are recurrent expenditure.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. This is Balkis Onodino from Ibadan.
All right, Balkis, please go on.
Fuel subsidies. I think for the Nigerian economy, it is suicidal for us if we continue with fuel subsidies. So they should remove it. But I'm worried that the federal government hasn't come up with anything concrete to cushion the effect of fuel subsidies removal. So if they will remove fuel subsidies, they should do it in phases. And of course, there should be substantial efforts to increase the purchasing power of Naira and among other relieving palliatives so that Nigeria really won't feel the negative effects. Meanwhile, why can't we start refining our crude oil in Nigeria? Why aren't our refineries working? If we are able to refine in Nigeria, I think we'll get the most benefit of having this crude oil. That's my take. Balkis Onodino from Ibadan.
All right, thank you very much. We have a lot of questions as Nigerians, for sure.
All right, quickly, let's take this from Facebook. Okediran Babatunde says, our governance is too expensive to run. We don't need bicameral legislative houses. Let our legislators be meeting quarterly and place on allowances. Too much political appointees are gulping the resources of the country.
I think that's a reaction to what Prof said.
Yes.
All right. Hello, good morning. All right, we'll take some more Facebook comments.
All right, this is from Omar Bashorun. Abiola says, Professor Jericho, must we continue borrowing money to pay salary workers for God's sake? And that's a question mark. I don't see anything wrong in borrowing money from anywhere, but you borrow to invest in what will bring returns, not borrowing to pay workers' salary. The workers, are they not productive? Why are they borrowing money to pay their salary? The government needs to borrow money to create enabling environments that will definitely help some of our youth to be well employed in the country.
Hello, good morning. We can hear you.
This is John Olariwaju from Agbo. Like Prof said about borrowing, I think I'm agree with you. So in Nigeria, especially the government that we are into it now, they have borrowed a lot of money, but little we could see. So which means the reason of the borrow from this government is not bring any fruitful, it's not yield to any fruitful things. So it's just like they put the Nigerians, the people of Nigeria into debt because the president that borrowed the money is now going and another president will inherit it, which is going to now claim it that this also amount of money, the debt that he inherited, and is going to bounce on Nigeria. So we are going to suffer it. We should prepare for that one. And then for the petroleum subsidy they were talking about, what about other items? They have removed the subsidy. What about the money they were paying on that item before, like diesel, kerosene? We have other items too that they are getting from the oil. They don't even come out and tell us how much they are getting from this money and how they are using it. They will only make us to understand and put us on only of fuel, which is totally wrong. That is why I totally against this removal of subsidy. Thank you and good morning.
All right, thank you very much. Prof, I think we should quickly touch on the story of Whitney Adenike, the 12-year-old students that passed at Chrisland and all of that. From your professional experience, so when I was reading this story, a couple of Nigerians thought that, they've been granted bail. I mean, the offense is bailable, and they've been granted bail of about 20 million naira. And they think that this is the end of the case. Now that they've been granted bail, once they pay the bail, they can go. So maybe you can shed some light on that.
No, certainly you can go home, and they can come from home and visit the courts on the days the courts are sitting. So it doesn't mean that they're out of the woods yet. It just means that the court adjudges them not to be of a flight risk and a low risk in terms of their escaping justice. So it still has some way to go. I feel, of course, for the parents, for Whitney, it's sub judice, so we're not going to prejudice the hearing. But I also feel for those people who are also going to court at the same time. Let's see how the process will end. But I think lessons will be learnt, and I hope that we don't have this kind of situation again.
All right, can we take one more comment from Facebook? Balkis Onodiran says, when some bankers lose their jobs and start working as waiters and waitresses, since there is nothing worthwhile for the memorials anymore, all right, to the bank for deposit. And as a result of that, customers fear of lack of faith in commercial banks. Many customers start using digital banking systems going forward, costing retail banks customers. If this occurs, blame Buhari and Emefiele.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Please turn down the volume on your radio. We're getting feedback.
Yeah, thank you. I've been saying this for a very long time.
All right, please turn down the volume on your radio so that we can, of course, hear you loud and clear. If you still want to call, although it's almost time to wrap up, it is 0705 500 0949 and 0809 700 0949. I think this is our final call. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
This is Oledi from LA. Doctor, is it the main duty of the president to enforce all these people that refuse to resign before taking up another appointment? Or is it the duty of the Attorney General and that of the party itself to really enforce them to do it? And of late, I want to ask, is it because it's somebody that we are really interested in that is now the elected president, that most of our callers are not talking about what do they call restructuring the game? Those are my questions, Doctor. Thank you. Prof.
All right, thank you. You want to quickly react to that?
Well, valid questions that is asked. Yes, the party has to play a role. The president has to play a role. We all have to play a role that we enforce the laws that are established.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor Oluwajeduko, for joining us this morning. I am Adenike Ademuwagun.
And I'm Gbolabo, famous school. Bye for now.
The Smart Kids comes up next.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the guest analyst and do not necessarily reflect the recommendations or perspectives of 32FM 94.9 Ibadan.